Freedom is not expensive. It never has been. We just continuously agree to pay more than necessary to get it, and then forget that its original price has never changed. In 1845, a man in Massachusetts calculated exactly how much of a life a person truly needs to live freely. Not an opinion, not philosophy, actual data, in a ledger. That number changed everything for him. And when you hear it, it might change how you look at everything you are working to acquire. Most of us are working to pay for a life that we do not have the time to live, not because we are lazy, not because we have not tried hard enough, because no one ever taught us how to calculate the true price of a thing. Not the monetary price, the price in life. That man in 1845 figured it out, and his answer remains completely intact today. Today we will go through that story, slowly, not to tell you to live like a hermit in the woods, not to tell you that money does not matter, but to give you a tool, a different way of calculating, that once you understand it, you cannot look at any decision the old way anymore. His name was Henry David Thoreau. On July 4th, 1845, American Independence Day, he moved into a small cabin he built with his own hands on the shores of Walden Pond, Massachusetts. He built it for $28.12. Not a metaphor. He recorded every single cent in his ledger. His living expenses for a year, food, clothing, fuel, absolutely everything, were $61.99. And to earn that money, he only needed to work for 6 weeks. 6 weeks out of a year. The remaining 46 weeks he read, he wrote, he walked in the woods, he watched the pond change colors with the seasons. He lived. This is the part that most people walk right past without realizing. Thoreau was not poor. He was educated, came from a decent family, and graduated from Harvard. He could have worked full-time like his contemporaries. He chose not to, not because he could not make money, because he figured out that earning more than necessary is paid for with the only thing that cannot be bought back, the time of his life. The quiet practice here is this. Take a piece of paper. Write down the things you truly need, not want, not are used to, truly need to feel okay. Do not judge that list. Just look at it. But that is only one layer of this. After 2 years at Walden, Thoreau wrote this. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Read that again. Not the monetary price, the amount of life. He did not ask, how many dollars does this cost? He asked, how many hours, how many days, how many years of my life does this cost? And when you start calculating that way, everything changes. Let us try applying it right now. A $35,000 car, with an average income in America of about $56,000 a year after taxes, you actually bring home about $44,000. That car does not cost $35,000. It costs almost 10 months of your life. 10 months. Not installments, not interest rates. 10 months of your life, non-refundable. This is how Thoreau calculated everything. And when he looked at the lives of his neighbors, people working year-round to have things they did not have the time to use, he called it the worst trade that human beings voluntarily accept. The quiet practice here is this. Take the list you just wrote. For every single thing you are paying for monthly, calculate it not in dollars. Calculate it in the number of working hours you spend to get it. Then ask, if I paid in hours of life instead of money, would I still want this? Let that sink in, because the next part explains why we have forgotten this. Stop and be honest with yourself for a second. You know all of this already, not from Thoreau, but because there is a part of you, a very quiet part, that has known for a long time that not everything you are working for is worth the price you are paying. The question is not why you do not know this. The question is why you know it but still keep going. The answer is not laziness. It is not a lack of willpower. It is something much more subtle. From 1845 to now, the world has mastered doing one thing very well. It continuously expands the definition of the word necessary. In 1945, an average American home was about 968 square feet, or about 90 square meters. In 2023, that number was almost 2,475 square feet, which is about 230 square meters. Bigger houses, but smaller families, more rooms, but less time spent in them. No one forces you to buy space you do not use. But when everyone around you does it, the definition of enough slowly shifts. And you begin working not to live, but to keep up with a standard that no one ever really consciously chose. Thoreau called this living lives of quiet desperation, not loud desperation, quiet. People waking up every morning, going to work, coming back, sleeping, not terribly, not unhappy in a dramatic sense, just no longer paying attention, not noticing that this week is exactly like the last, that this season is like the last, that life is slipping by in monthly payments. This is the part most people walk right past without realizing. But that is only one layer of this. This is where most people misunderstand Thoreau. He did not say to abandon everything and live in the woods. He did it once, for 2 years, to prove a point. That point is, when you know how much you actually need, you can make conscious decisions instead of coasting on momentum without ever stopping to ask why. Freedom does not come from having less. It comes from knowing how much you need. That is the difference between deprivation and enough. Thoreau did not have a complicated system. He had 3 questions. The first question, do I need this, or am I just used to having it? Habit and necessity look very similar from the inside, but only one of them can justify its price. The second question, if I do not have this, in what specific way will my life be worse? Not more inconvenient, worse in a real sense. The third question, and this is Thoreau's question, how many hours of my life does this cost? And am I willing to pay that price? 3 questions. No spreadsheets needed. No financial plans needed. Just honesty. Think about what Thoreau had with 46 weeks of freedom every year. Not wealth in the conventional sense, but waking up in the morning owing that day to no one, no schedules, no meetings. Just the question, what do I want to pay attention to today? Most of us have forgotten what that feeling looks like. Not because it is impossible to have, because we have never stopped to calculate how much it actually costs. The quiet practice here is this. Choose a fixed expense in your life, something you pay for every month without thinking. Apply Thoreau's 3 questions to it. No need to take immediate action. Just listen to your true answers. Honest answers usually come very quickly. We just do not ask them often enough. If you want to start writing those answers down, the link to the notebook I use for this is in the description below. And the final thing, this is what this rule is actually saying. Thoreau did not write Walden to teach people how to save money. He wrote it because he noticed something happening around him, and happening faster and faster. People were trading their lives to acquire things that they later did not have the time to enjoy. He called this the cruelest irony of modern times. Not poverty, not injustice, voluntary exchange, trading life for things that life could already provide. If you stopped overpaying for things that do not belong on the list of necessities. Here is what the 1845 rule truly says. Freedom is not a destination you arrive at after working long enough. It is a state you are rejecting every single time you agree to pay with your life for something you have never stopped to actually ask if you wanted. In 1845, it cost $28.12 to realize that. Today it costs nothing at all. It just costs one question and the courage to hear the answer. Walden is not a book about living simply. It is a book about living intentionally. That difference is everything. Simply is about having less. Intentionally is about knowing why you have something and why you do not have something else. Thoreau does not want you to give up your house. He wants you to know how much of your life that house costs and to decide if you agree with that price. That is all. And that alone is everything. Thoreau left Walden Pond after 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. Not because he failed, not because that life did not work, because he had learned what he came to learn. He wrote, I left because I had several more lives to live. You do not need to go to the shores of a pond to understand what he understood. You just need to stop long enough to calculate, truly calculate, what in your life is being paid for with something that cannot be bought back. If that question just touched something inside you, leave a single word in the comments. A word describing what you want more time to do. Not what you want to buy, what you want to live. The book Walden, the thing he wrote after those 2 years, is one of the few books I reread every year. The link is in the description below. Less noise. A clearer life. That is the method.